when you go to prison, everybody goes through Jackson, which is quarantine. They do medical, dental, all this type of stuff. And then you go to your actual prison. I was outside for the first time in 3 months and everybody's using the phone. So there's this long line and I was next. And somebody from the back of the line walked all the way from the back of the line and took the phone that was supposed to be mine. Dude behind me, a little older than me, said, "Hey man, you can't let that happen, youngin', or they gonna take advantage of you." And I turned around to him, I said, "I got 2.5 years, I'm going home."
Yo, what's up everybody? You listening to the What I Know Now podcast about life inside the juvenile justice system and what it's like to turn things around after. I'm Bilal and I've been through it.
And my name is Cole Williams. I am an advocate, a father, and I entered into the Juvenile Detention Center because my son was there. We're gonna sit down with young men and young women who've been through the juvenile justice system, just like Bilal. And we'll talk about how they got in, how they got out, and what they know now.
We're here to break down those walls, have some raw conversations, and hopefully change some lives along the way. Let's get into it.
Well, listen, welcome back, y'all. I'm excited today to introduce a brother that I've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years. His name is Eric Freeman. He is an entrepreneur here in Grand Rapids. He's a father, but most importantly, he is a brother in this community with a lot of lived experience. And so we're excited to have him join the podcast today to talk about his journey and what he's experienced. So welcome, Eric. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Life is good right now.
Good to have you here with us, man. And to talk about all of the things that you do, because you do a lot, man. You meeting with a lot of people in this community. You're doing a lot of great work. And so I'm glad to have you with us today to share your journey.
I'm happy to be here, man.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Upon the research that I did a little bit about you, I was really interested in how you described your life before prison.
So we jumping right into it.
Yeah. It's a couple questions that, wanted to break the ice, but just as I was looking, like I was kind of, like how it was described, the words that you used about you kind of feeling like emotionally detached, but you may have had the material things early on in life. What did that look like? How did that feel? And how do you think that molded you into who you is today?
Yeah, great question, man. Great question. So like you mentioned, we had material things. I had a PlayStation. My brother had a PlayStation. You know what I mean? We shared a room, but we had things. But what we didn't have was a lot of love and social emotional support. So honestly, I'm gonna be real.
Yeah,
we're here to be real. Mom, absolutely. I love you. But my mom, she got kicked out of the family when she was 22 years old when she had me for dating a black man. So my mom was born in Cuba. She came over here from Cuba with abuelo and abuela. And then once she ended up meeting my dad, I think my dad was playing basketball at junior college or GRCC. And they met and engaged and ended up having me. And, some of the Latino community can be just as racist as others. And my mom got kicked out of the family for dating a black man. So what do you think that does to the baby in the womb? You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So she got kicked out of the family, moved to Prospect, and did her best with me. And then 7 years later, my little brother was born, and that's where my leadership journey began. So my father was absent. He lived on the east side of the state. He told my mom he was only 19 years old. He was a 19-year-old kid. So he told my mom to come, to the east side of the state. And my mom, she didn't do it.
Yeah.
So absent father, mother was there, but absent because of the stress that she was going through. So I just, I did have grandparents. My grandmother on my dad's side was very influential in my life. And abuela, she took me in as well. So, and then what I was able to gain from manhood was my abuelo. That generation was not available emotionally, but he got his ass up every day and went to work at Steelcase. He came here with nothing from Cuba and built a beautiful house in Granville. He worked his ass off at Steelcase as an engineer, and I saw how he treated abuela, and he did everything for her. And abuela was a stay-at-home mom, and that's work. That's work
for sure.
So I saw him deal and appreciate and love one woman. I saw that, you know what I mean? So when you say like my childhood growing up, we had things, we had material things. I had nice clothes. I used to get in fights because of light-skinned nigga with clothes and nice shoes and stuff. So people wanted to test me, but you know, I'd go there. And I didn't know how to regulate my emotions. Why go there? Why can't we have a conversation? Why, you know, I didn't know how to I wouldn't start nothing, but I'll finish it. You know what I mean? And so you ask, how was my childhood? A little dysfunctional. I felt sometimes lost, alone a lot until my brother came. You know, there was a story at one time I was with my grandma on the east side of the state, and I had a buddy who lived across the street, and I had this necklace, you know, this little Cuban chain on, and it was real gold. And I was young. I had to be about 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And he was going home. It was getting nighttime. He was going home, and I said, "Hey man, stay with me. I'll give you my necklace if you stay with me." You know what I mean? And that's lonely, man. You know. And my grandma, she was like, "Go across the street, go get your necklace."
You could be lonely, but you're gonna be lonely with that necklace.
So yeah, it was a little dysfunctional. I had people around me, luckily, because some people don't, man, that love. You know, Willa loved me. My grandmother poured love into me. My mom did at times, but she did so differently. She didn't know how to because no one poured love into her. So a little dysfunctional, a little lonely. Had material things and also had some love too. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So walk me through a little bit, right? Because you fast forward, you were an entrepreneur, man. Mindset Mills. Walk us through. First of all, when Mindset Mills, walk us through just the title, the description. Can you describe what Mindset Mills means? How did you even get to the definition? How did you arrive to that? Based off of what you just described.
Excuse me. I'll give you the backstory.
Okay.
Derived from lived experience, grew up in a food desert, not a lot of access to nourishing food. Okay. That mixed with, I'm sure we'll get into it, I went to prison when I was 19 years old and got out when I was about 23, I believe, 22, 23. And I was in a very, very dark place mentally. They say it's supposed to rehabilitate you, but I've seen some things that no one should ever see, especially a 19-year-old kid. So I was just in a really dark place mentally. I got up to 270 pounds. I was taking heart medicine in my mid-20s, and we're supposed to be the healthiest we are in our mid-20s. And I remember taking heart medicine. I remember just being now those are the things you could see on paper. What you couldn't see is where I was mentally. I was in a very dark place mentally and spiritually. So I had the opportunity to move to South Florida from this bubble of West Michigan, and I got a little uncomfortable. I was 26 years old at the time. Men, we tend to mature a little later than women if we ever do. And it was time to mature. I was 26 years old, and I was spinning on this hamster wheel, hurting people that loved me, that poured into me, that were close to me, and hurting them. And I was like, man, I want to live a different lifestyle. This was 9 years ago. And I was like, I want to live a different lifestyle, but I have to change the things that I'm doing, right? I had to change my mindset.
Yeah.
So I started becoming more aware of what I was consuming. Nourishing foods was the foundation to get me to a healthier, more productive life.
Okay.
It started with food, not a diet, just nourishing food.
Okay.
Then I became more aware of what I was also consuming visually and what I was listening to. So of course we all listen to rap, but you know, there's a lot of negativity within that music. So I started listening to different type of music. The garbage I was watching on TV turned into educational YouTube videos. So I nourished my body with the food, and then I naturally started to nourish my mind. That then nourished my spirit. So it was a massive mindset shift. So I came back so let me rewind a little bit. We were 3 kids under the age of 30 with no business plan. We went down to South Florida and thought we was gonna kill it. We got chewed up and spit out in about a year. And I learned a little bit about business, man, y'all, but I learned a lot about myself. I was alone for the first time. I didn't have, I was alone as far as like no family members around. And I got uncomfortable and moved back to West Michigan where my support system was, started grinding. No one in my family really owned a business. So I Spring GR, Start Garden, Score, Grow, MMSD. I mean, you name it, man. And I went through the programs. And we launched officially in 2019 with version 1.0 with Mallory Malloy. Shout out to Mallory. She was our chef at the time. Wonderful, wonderful human being. And officially started with individuals. But I was like, I want to scale this thing. I want to make a massive impact. So we started going business to business. We won a pitch competition with Start Garden in 2019. That gave us our seed money to launch.
Okay.
And then at the beginning of 2021, we halted production. And I've been in what they call corporate development for the past 5 years now. And some people will say, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You haven't produced a meal in probably 2 years now, a year and a half. And it's like, if I were to continue to listen to those people that are like, what are you doing? I would have stopped.
Man.
So I just know that this mission and this purpose is much bigger than me and anybody else who's saying anything negative. So that was long-winded, but that's the journey that's the story about how Mindset Meals was derived and what it's here for is two reasons. It's to make massive positive social impact in people's lives, and to make wealth creation, because a lot of the things that we deal with as underserved folk is poverty, man. Yeah. It comes from poverty.
Absolutely.
It comes from poverty. So if we can, put money in people's pockets and help them with their social emotional behaviors, what more can we do? You know what I mean? So that's what it is. What it is, it's nourishing, flavorful, really good food. That's what it is. It's not a diet. I think it's important to know what you're not as well. It's not a diet. It's just really, really good food. But then it's coupled with some social emotional engagements that Eleanor Moreno, that's a shout out to her, them, and they helped us create a curriculum, an age appropriate curriculum to help with what I call social emotional engagements. Because what I think of learning, you can't sit me in a class and just talk to me in front of me. I got to engage. I got to get up. I got to do things. So I made sure that we make this engaging for these folks, whether it be K through 12 or whether it be adults. So that's what it is. That's a little bit of the journey. And I believe there's a direct correlation between what we eat, how we feel, how we behave, how we perform. And we can help with some social emotional engagements as well.
No, I love that. Could you speak a little bit about food deserts? I don't know if people truly understand what a food desert is. When I think of a food desert, I in my mind, I'm like a place where there's no food, right? Or there's a lack thereof or a scarcity. So can you speak to what is a food desert and why should anyone, especially when we think about poverty, folks be concerned about that?
So you just hit it on the head. That's what it is. It's really not that hard of a term. It's where places and spaces where I even go deeper and say where there's no nourishing food, right? So, excuse me, there's places and spaces where there are food and the gas station on the corner and things, but there's chips. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is here's another option. Here's another option alongside of those chips, alongside of those candy bars. I just had a pizza yesterday. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm saying here's another option for you. So so a food desert, I think of them as nourishing food deserts. You can have a nourishing food desert at a mid to large size organization. You know what I mean? So
that's helpful to know.
Okay. As I hear you talk about your journey through entrepreneurship and your business, I hear morals, and I think it's really aligned with your passion and your purpose. And part of me want to ask, do you think you have met your purpose? Do you know your purpose? But half of me want to wait until you kind of take us through the story of, because reading upon you, I seen that you said you were forced into entrepreneurship. So was that an avenue with your business that you never thought you would take that route? Is that something that just came about, or how did that arise? Like, upon your release from prison, how did you feel? Why did you feel like you were forced into entrepreneurship?
Well, I heard a couple questions in there. One of them is Have You Found Your Purpose? Luckily, brother, at 36 years old, well, I found it at 26. So 10 years ago, it's massive social impact, positive social, because you can have social impact in a negative way.
Yeah.
We see it right now. But massive positive social impact in wealth creation. That's my purpose. Not just for me, for everybody who want it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's my purpose. It's very clear. It's very clear to me. That's my purpose. And then the second piece of that question was, upon my release from prison, what was it?
Why did you feel like you were forced into entrepreneurship? And was that like an avenue, because you said you feel like you were forced to be an entrepreneur. Was that an avenue that you didn't even think of before? I know you kind of talked about it with your family, nobody owned businesses and things like that, but is that something that never clicked in your mind until you were forced to do it?
Great question. Boy, I knew that school wasn't for me at a very early age, but I got through. I knew it was not for me at a very early age, but I got through it, and sports helped me get through it. And we can get into that too. Sports helped me a lot with the absent father piece, and we can get into that. But I think when I was graduating, you're talking to your friends, like, what do you want to be? And I wanted to be a pharmacist, but I didn't know why. You know what I mean? I was just picked pharmacy because everybody else had something. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be a pharmacist.
Yeah.
And but then I thought about, I can't sit in this space like I gotta move, I gotta do things. So and then 6-7 months after high school graduation, I shot out right to prison. So when I got out, why I say I was forced into entrepreneurship is because I would apply at jobs that I knew I was qualified for, and they would say no just because of this box that I had to check. That's not a unique story. That's and I'm like, man, the places and spaces I was working, I was in wireless for like 11 years, and they would send me to underperforming stores and I'd flip them. And Mallory Malloy, she was the operational person. I was more like the salesperson. And we would go to stores, man, we'll flip them. And I'm like, man, I'm making all these people all this money, and I'm making okay money. And FOC would take, we can get into that too. FOC, Friends of the Court, would take a lot of it. So I finally get into a space where I'm like, okay, I'm making some okay money. Then Friends of the Court would take 40% of my check. So I was like, man, I'm making all these people money, and they would treat me some type of way because they knew I couldn't leave and go and get another job. I would try and I couldn't. So they would treat me some type of way. So I'm like, man, if I'm making all these people money and sales is a big part of business, I think I can do this myself. I seen how they operated. You know what I mean? These wireless stores and the owners, I seen how they operated. So luckily, when I was forced into entrepreneurship, it's social impact and it's wealth. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes when you go into business, it's just wealth creation. You know what I mean? So luckily, I was forced into entrepreneurship in a positive way and with values and morals, and to help other people get out of this funk that we all get into. I still get into them sometimes. You know what I mean? So when I say I'm forced into entrepreneurship, it was literally that. I was tried to live, a better lifestyle monetarily, and really couldn't. So was forced into it.
Can you talk about wealth creation? I hear you mention that several times, right? We know why it's important to create wealth, but why is it so important for you when you think about this, creating wealth for? Is it just for yourself? Is it just for your, like when you envision wealth creation, who is behind all of that?
Mm-hmm. I kind of alluded to it earlier. I think a lot of the systematic problems that we have are twofold. It's poverty, and it's a cycle, and it continues. It's a terrible cycle. So I believe that if we create some wealth, a lot of Black and brown folk, we don't have a lot of wealth. So I believe if we create wealth, some things will change internally in our communities. Now there's a caveat, there's a second part to that. Mm-hmm. The second piece is there's a system, and then there's us. And we got to do some work on ourselves as well. So I think when you talk about wealth creation, one, there's not a lot of wealth in Black and brown communities. And two, I think you can make a lot of changes if you had wealth. Wealth brings power.
Yes.
Wealth brings power. I'm sitting here begging these investors for money. If I had it myself, I'll just do it. You know what I mean? And so I think it can create change. I believe that it creates change.
Okay.
It gives us space to breathe, man.
I agree. Because it's suffocating.
Yes.
It's suffocating.
Yes.
Eric, can you talk a little bit to us about the journey of becoming a man, sports, and fatherhood? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
So mentioned earlier, Dad really wasn't in my life in the beginning. Shout out to my dad, George Freeman. We starting to build a relationship now, which is beautiful, man. And it actually helps me with my relationship with my son.
Yep.
But he wasn't there in the beginning, and that's extremely important. And so I played sports. I was athletic, and what sports taught me was integrity. That was the number one thing that it showed me. I remember this story. I was playing basketball, the AAU team, and I had to be about 12 years old. And the coach was, we were going through our drills. We were just going through our drills. And every time the coach would turn, he's just walking around making sure everybody, every time the coach would turn to me, I'd be like, working hard. And then he'll turn around, I'd be like, slacking. And then he turned back around, I'd be like, working hard. And then turn around, slack. The last time he turned around, he looked at me and said, Freeman, why every time I turn around, you working hard, but when I turn back around, you not? That's called integrity, doing the right thing when people aren't watching you, man. So that's one of the biggest lessons I learned. Being prompt on time. If you ain't on time, we running. You know how that goes. Respect, teamwork, leadership. I've always been influential. Yeah. So I've always been a captain on everything, basketball, football. Even I played semi-pro until I was 26, and I was still a captain of the defense. You know what I'm saying? And so it taught me leadership, integrity, values, teamwork. It was extremely important for someone without a father.
Yeah. So how did that shape you as a father when you think about your own son?
Instilling those things into him and his mom. Shout out to his mom. She does a wonderful job.
Come on, shout out moms. Yeah. Shout out Mom Dukes.
Yep, she does a wonderful job. So he's a great kid, and I try to instill those things into him and the pieces. I try to remember, when he's 12. So I'm like, what was I missing when I was 12? You know what I mean? What did I want when I was 12? What did I need when I was 12? And I try to think of those things and try to instill it into him.
Now, I ask those questions because I would probably say 90% of the young people that we serve and walk alongside in our juvenile justice system, our community mental health system, as well as our child welfare system, often grow up without the presence of a male caregiver or a father. And so for me, just listening to you talk about how sports was able to really give you a character in terms of how you show up in these spaces, how would you say, as a father now, your son is 12? If he was sitting in this room with us right now, what do you think he would say about you as his father?
I think maybe not now. But I think soon he's going to be like, man, you kept showing up. You kept showing up. And sometimes circumstances didn't make it easy. But he will see that I kept showing up for him, and kind of wish my dad did it for me. Yeah. And hey, don't get it twisted, man. There's a lot of things that I could have done better as a father. But I kept showing up the way that I knew how. I tell that boy I love him all the time. I hug him, I kiss him. You know what I mean? He's getting to that age now where he's like, I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. No, don't care.
I don't care.
Don't care.
So
don't care.
I didn't get that a lot. Abuela, grandma, they told me they loved me, but the people I was with, they didn't really. I didn't remember my mom telling me she loved me until I was like 19. And it was because of the situation I was going through. You know what I mean? So I just pour love into him. And so I think if he was sitting in this room, you know, maybe not now, but soon, he's going to be like, Dad, I appreciate that you kept showing up for me.
Yeah. I would even say to you, Eric, he could articulate that right now. He could articulate that right now because at 12 you could have. You knew what you didn't have and you knew what you needed. Maybe you didn't know how to articulate it verbally, but it was in you. And I think so oftentimes than not, the young people that we walk alongside, that we serve, they know what they need. They may not be able to articulate it, but they behave in a way that will get you to pay attention to them. And I think one of the key things that you said that I will hold on to today too, is that you were willing to give up your gold chain to belong, to feel something from somebody, to be seen and to be heard. And so, you know, I'm thinking about as you're sharing with us your journey, that feels like the also key to this too, is this power of being seen and being heard and being valued. And you're a big community member. I mean, man, when I move into the community, I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't know Eric Freeman. Is that safe to say? That's safe to say, Eric. It's okay to say that.
I value relationships.
You value relationships, yeah,
I do. And sometimes it may feel like it's transactional because I'm grinding.
Yeah,
it's not. I value relationships, and sometimes some people may not feel like that, and it may feel transactional at times, but it's not. It's not intentional. It's I'm trying to get to social impact wealth creation.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop talking.
So we talked about a lot. We touched on a lot, but I definitely want to touch on your. I definitely want to touch on you just going through the whole prison pipeline. How did that come about? How did you navigate that?
I went to
And did it start like in the adult system? Were you in the juvenile system at any point? Or did it start, like, where did it?
It started when I was an adult. I got into fights when I was younger, but really never really got into the juvenile system like that. You know, the first time I went to jail was when I went to jail. So, you know, you mentioned the pipeline to prison. I went to I would call it a less than mediocre school, and couldn't read that well. Didn't care about grades much. Cared about sports and women, you know, friends. That's what I cared about. And absent father. Couldn't read that well. Absent father. And then my mother, like I said, she didn't really help with social and emotional help. So like I said, I wouldn't start no fights, but that's what I went to prison for, was a fight. That went terribly wrong. Terrence Belcher, I'll never forget this man. I just got into jail. They put you under my case, they put me under the jail. You know what I mean? With some real.
And remind us, how old were you, Eric, again?
I just turned 19.
Just turned 19.
I just turned 19.
Still a kid.
A kid.
We have to say that, because a lot of times people think 18, 19, you're an adult. No, you're not an adult.
Child, bro.
You still are a kid.
I'm still developing.
Yes.
I'm still developing. Okay. So, just turned 19, went to jail, put me under the jail, and I laid on my bunk. Just laid down. And I heard, Eric. He ain't talking to me. I don't know nobody down here. E. So I get up and I go to the bars in the back. There's a door right here. There's bars in the back. And I just sit up on the bars and he said, E. I said, yeah. He said, no, I said, yeah. I said, yeah. He said, hey, when the doors break, go to the day room. I don't know what doors break is, and I don't know what day room is. I'm like, okay. 2-3 hours later, the doors break. I know what that means. The doors open. That means the door break. I said, okay, so that's what that means. I see people. You just do what other people are doing when you don't know what's going on. So
that's facts.
Can I also say this right? So that also means, like, you don't understand the language.
There is a language I didn't understand.
And no one walked you through it when you came in.
No one walked. You got to learn it.
You F around and find out.
That's right.
You just find out.
Yep. So the doors broke. I walked where everybody was walking. That must have been the day room. There was a TV and some chairs. And this brother braids light skinned dude came up to me. He was like, man, we've been, they watch the news and everything. We've been watching your case, man, and we feel bad for you. He was like, he just put me under his wing. He taught me how to jail. He taught me how to get through prison properly.
Wow.
He said, if somebody leaves something on your bunk, don't take it. If I know you hoop, I know you play basketball, stay off those courts. I didn't. That's how I passed my time, working out and playing basketball. But don't gamble. He sat down, and then there was another gentleman too, elder. They were a little old, they were older than me. But they taught me how to get through prison, man. You know what? And I'm gonna get spiritual here. You know what that is? That's God. That's God. That's God. And he came to me and he said, hey man, this is how you get through it. Now, this is the playbook to get home on time. You got a violent crime, you better be on your P's and Q's. And he gave me the playbook how to get home. And I'll share another story. The first time I could have got into something, we went from jail. When you go to prison, everybody goes through Jackson, which is quarantine. They do medical, dental, all this type of stuff. And then you go to your actual prison. And I was this first time I was outside in like 3 months. I remember I was I didn't see sunlight, nothing. I was for 3 months. And then I was outside for the first time in 3 months, and everybody's using the phone. So there's this long line, and there's a couple phones. It's like, I think there's like 6 phones. This long line of us. And I was next. And somebody from the back of the line walked all the way from the back of the line and took the phone that was supposed to be mine. My number, Young, 724-027. And dude behind me, a little older than me, said, hey man, you can't let that happen, youngin', or they gonna take advantage of you. And I turned around to him, I said, I got 2.5 years, I'm going home. And the guy that he was with was like, respect. So I just made a decision early on, man, I wanna come home, you know what I mean? So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you totally answered it.
No,
and gave us a lot
a
lot to think about.
I got sucked into the story, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanna, that's, wow. Yeah, I need a second for that. Yeah. That was powerful.
Shout out Terrence Belcher, man.
Hey everyone, it's Nick here with the Delta Project News Break, and I've got some great updates for you this week. First up, a huge thank you to everyone who came to support us at the West Michigan Whitecaps Black Sox Appreciation Night. The Delta Project had the honor of being the title sponsor for the evening. And thanks to your support, we raised over $3,000 to fuel our youth justice work right here in West Michigan. It was an unforgettable night of celebrations, solidarity, and impact. Big love to the Whitecaps team and to all our partners who made this night possible. Your support means everything. Next, we want to draw your attention to some really important statewide work happening through the Michigan Collaborative End Mass Incarceration. They just launched a new movement for common sense police and reform in Michigan. This campaign is pushing for local, community-driven change that prioritize safety and accountability. Go check out their campaign, learn what they're fighting for, and most importantly, add your voice. You can head to michigancollaborative.org to read more and get involved. And last but definitely not least, we want to highlight our Boys to Mentors initiative. This campaign is all about reimagining what mentorship can look like for young men navigating systems that weren't built for them. We're creating intentional spaces for growth, healing, and connection. If you believe in investing in the next generation, this is the moment to step in, and you can help us build those spaces. Head over to the deltaproject.co/boys to mentors and make a contribution today. Every dollar goes directly towards empowering the future leaders of our community. That's it for today's news break. Stay tapped in, involved, and always thanks for rocking with us here at the Delta Project.
Part of the secret sauce that we hope to create here at the Delta Project is this concept of true mentorship and mentors being the guide, but you said elder, right? And part of what my vision for the Delta Project is to create elders, men and women who look like I'm rocking the gray, but are 70, 75, 80 years old, 60 years old with all of this lived experience to like help guide young people through this process. So it isn't just mentorship through a young person mentoring another young person, but this group of elders coming together to do what happened to you in prison. And part of me feels like that's so missing in what I'm seeing in these spaces, that there are not men and women that look like me or extremely older having the opportunity to be ushered into experiences to mentor and share their wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm thinking, do you think before 19, would you felt like you would have belonged if there was a true community of people that were surrounding you and walking alongside you, and you had family, right? Because that's where you were trying to get home to. But part of me wonders, like, what can the community have done, and what can we do when you think about where we're going?
Cole, exactly what your vision is and what you've created here today. What you're doing. That's how we do this. We need more of this. Maybe not in the same exact lane. Maybe in the same exact lane.
Yeah.
You know. But we need more. We need more of this. What you're doing, brother. The vision that you have to help these young men and women, mostly men, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, if there was something like this when I was younger, it may have kept me out of prison. You know what I mean? Now, may I let me fall back. Would I have missed it because I really wasn't in the juvenile system like that? Maybe, but you know, you guys engage with schools and things, so I would have caught it somehow. You know what I'm saying? It would have caught me. And so I think exactly what you're doing and the vision that you have and the execution that you guys are doing is exactly what we need.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I know oftentimes Cole always say this quote, and I always go back to it.
Oh,
Shoot.
the African proverb that says, "Children that are not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth."
Oof.
Yeah. I felt like that's what he's been saying.
And that's what I'm getting from that. And I wonder, and it sit back with me think that being forced into entrepreneurship, being so passionate about what you're passionate about, you creating the village for the next generation, and for the next generation, for your son, because what you didn't have from your father, you now giving to your son. And that's something I could relate to so much, because almost everything I wanted from my father, I didn't get. Because as boys, like, we naturally look up to our father. At some point, like, our imagery of him get tainted. It may be ruined. Maybe if you're not there, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But naturally, you want to look up to your father. Naturally, you want to go under his wing, to be under his lead. And as a young boy, I could always remember, like, for the longest, I put my dad on a pedestal. Like, my dad everything. My dad this, my dad that, my dad this. I literally thought my daddy was Superman. You couldn't tell me nothing different. You know, I thought my dad was the fastest man on earth. If you told me Usain Bolt was faster than my daddy, I would not believe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He used to race me. We used to run in the rain around the block, like all of this stuff. And when my dad broke, I broke. When my dad brother died, he broke. And that broke me because it showed up in his relationship and how he treat me. Before my dead brother died, every night he would kiss me on my forehead every day. And all the way up until I was like 12. And at this point, you know, I'm finna go into puberty. You know what I'm saying? I would never let him kiss me in public. But every night I looked forward to that kiss. Like even as I thought I was a man, I thought I was older, I always looked forward to that. I want to commend you for what you're doing. I say all of that just to say I want to commend you for what you're doing, because it takes a lot of like stillness and self-consideration and reconsideration to be able to reflect on your past and the lessons that you learn and pass it down and move somewhere different, because what you're doing is uncomfortable. What would have been comfortable was doing what your dad did. What would have been comfortable is doing what you knew, you know? But you took the uncomfortable route, and that's commendable.
I appreciate that, man. You are a wise young man. You a wise young man.
Yeah.
You got an old soul.
Yeah. So Eric, talk to us a little bit about the future of Mindset Mills. Where are you now? What do you need from the community? You described all the amazing programs that support young entrepreneurs and helping seed their work and help seed their dreams. Where are you now? How can people reach you? But tell us a little bit about what do you need?
Where are we now? So, man, I've built a solid foundation, Cole.
Okay.
I've built a solid foundation. I am extremely excited for what's to come for Mindset Meals. and to serve communities across the nation, honestly. I put my background is not in culinary.
Okay.
So I put an ad out on Indeed, and we got a lot of replies, a lot of applications.
Okay.
And we were moving forward with Chef Alicia.
Chef Alicia.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She sounds amazing.
Yeah, I had to say it, Chef Alicia.
Yeah, she can help with the blind spots in that culinary space.
Okay.
Like I said, my background isn't in culinary, so you need to partner with people that, that help your blind spots. We are Developing Dreams. Shout out to Developing Dreams. Jeremy over there, they're helping us revamp our website. So if you go to our website right now, it's confusing to me. I'm the founder. That's not good. That means everybody else is confused. So he's helping us. I'm so excited. I seen the landing page a week ago. It looks so good.
Doesn't that always feel good?
Oh my gosh, man. I was like, yes. So
I know that.
And we're working on the functionality of it too, because we're not a restaurant, right? So we cook the meals and we distribute them out. So people go online. So there's a lot of functionality that goes, we got to make sure it's secure. We take payments on there, all that type of stuff. So we're working on that. Hired the chef, working on the website. Oh, we got a kitchen, Broadleaf. They're allowing us to work out of their kitchen. You want to work with people who want to work with you.
Absolutely.
So they were like, he was so excited about the mission, Jason and Chris over there at Broadleaf. And he was so excited about the mission. He was like, we want to help you kickstart this. We want to help you get this off the ground. We see how long you've been working on it. We see the need. There's a need. And so we got a kitchen. I have 18 letters of intent. So my background is people. My background is leadership. My background is sales. So I have 18 letters of intent that I've been holding on to for some years to serve these people and these institutions. So where we are now, there's nothing else we can do. We need adequate capital.
Yes, money.
We need money, man. And a lot of these startup and entrepreneurs, I keep hearing these entrepreneurial ecosystems. I won't name them, but they say, all these entrepreneurs, startups, they need money. You don't need money. No. You get to a point where you need money.
Money.
I gotta pay the chef. She has a daughter. She has kids. I gotta pay her. She has rent. She has a life. Yeah. The kitchen. We gotta pay rent for the kitchen.
Yeah. Eric, when was the last time you paid yourself?
Oof.
That part. That's the part we don't talk about.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you talk about this word. You use a word that I know that word. The word grind. But if you're not careful, it will grind you to dust, right? So you haven't even probably paid yourself in years in this work.
We won some grant. I pitched and won some grant money.
So you got a little.
So I got a little bit.
You got a little bit.
Yeah, it was good though.
Yeah, okay.
Because it was probably like 5 years worth of work, 6 years worth of work before I even got to pay myself. And I did. We won a little bit of grant money and I took some of that to pay myself.
Good for you.
And I didn't feel bad.
Not at all.
I didn't feel bad. I'm like, man, I gotta, we live in a capitalist society. Yeah. Not my fault. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it costs money to live.
Yeah.
So we need adequate funding. That's where we are. I'm engaging with investors who, the market has changed. The economy has changed a little bit. So the conversations we were having last year are much different than they are this year. A lot of people are holding on to their money a little bit more. Yeah. But that's where we are. I need to pay people.
Okay. Okay. Eric, is there anything that you wanted to talk about today that we didn't get a chance to talk about? I want to make sure we leave open up an opportunity.
I do actually.
Okay.
I got 2 questions.
Yes.
What's your story and why did you start the Delta Project?
Wow.
Well, I'm gonna let you.
I knew you was
gonna let you go first.
I knew you was gonna do that.
I'm a gentleman.
Man, here we go with that gentleman. You are. Eric, great question. I started the Delta Project because my son was incarcerated. And actually, I was the person that made the choice of contacting the police under the impression that the police would help him and help us as it related to the struggles he had with his mental health. He was charged with domestic violence, sent to a juvenile facility. I didn't know anything about a juvenile detention center in Grand Rapids. I didn't have an address. They walked in, they took him, and then next thing you know, I was told that he had a preliminary hearing, and it was at this address. So I drove put the address in my GPS, drove to the facility, and that was the first time I had seen a juvenile detention center in a predominantly, it was in a neighborhood, residential neighborhood, and I was like shocked by it. It's large brown building, brick, amongst homes.
What were you shocked by, Cole?
I think I was shocked because this was an address I did not have, and this was my son in a location. So here they've taken him someplace that I don't know anything about, in a facility, a big facility that I didn't know anything about. So I walked in, had a preliminary. He came in with a uniform on that said juvenile. Was it
juvenile detention?
Juvenile detention, the title of the facility. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and we both started crying. And I was like, damn, I messed up. And it was then I realized I just called, because I was also in crisis. I was burnt out, overwhelmed, stressed too. And so I thought this would help us get on track. And it in some ways it did, but in so many other ways, had I had the opportunity to call a psychiatric team that could have come to our home and supported my son's mental health versus having 911 as the only part of our crisis plan, had I had those options, I would say, I don't know if the Delta Project would have been created because I never would have went down that path. But I went down that path and I started asking questions. I became very curious about the system. I became very curious about the kids that were behind those walls. And I started to wonder who were the parents, because so oftentimes than not, I felt like it was all my fault. So there was a lot of shame and guilt that I carried as a dad. One, contacting the police, but two, I didn't have the tools and I didn't know how to tell anybody. I didn't know that I didn't have the tools to be a knowledgeable father of like how to help my son with his mental health disorders or understanding the psychotropic and anti-depressant medications that he was on. I just didn't know how to ask for help. And how I grew up, men don't ask for help, you just do, right? And so in that doing, I got curious, and then before you know it, I started teaching in the detention facility. Fast forward, I left because then I thought to myself, well, man, what happened to the kids when they come home? And so the Delta Project was really created around the question, how do I become something I don't see, from a student that was in one of my classrooms as I was describing men like you. And I was telling the student, when you come out of detention, there are men like Eric Freeman in the community you should connect with. He was like, that sounds good, but when I go home, I don't see them. I don't see a Cole Williams. I only see you when I come here, Mr. Cole. So where are you at in the community? Right? That was really his charge. Where are you at in the community? If you say you're there, how come I don't see you? And so I was like, well, damn. That's a good question. How come he doesn't see me? Well, I'm stretched, I'm working, I'm grinding, I got my own family. I'm doing all these X, Y, and Z's. But then I said to myself, that's fine, but who is the community? Then if I'm one of those successful men that are grinding all the time, then how do they see me if I don't invite them to the spaces? If they don't get to see me in the neighborhood, walking in their neighborhood, if they don't see me cleaning up their parks and walking along those paths, but they see me in passing in my nice car. Right, as I'm passing them and without even exchanging our stories. And so I think I wanted to create the Delta Project to answer how do I become something you don't see and connect young men and young women to men like you. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, man.
So thankful for what you do.
Yeah.
You would have, like I said before, I wish the Delta Project was created when I was younger, so then I wouldn't end up going through this. You know what I mean? So thank you for what you do.
Man, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I met this guy.
Yeah. And one thing you said I do want to touch on, you said the location of the juvenile.
Yeah.
One thing about the location of the juvenile is because I knew where the juvenile was at before I ever had contact with the juvenile. And the juvenile facility never looked intimidating until you have involvement, if that makes sense. It don't look intimidating. It don't feel intimidating when you walk up. But once you get involved, or you got family involved, or you are involved, it feel heavy. Anytime you walk up, anytime you pass, it feel heavy. So that's just kind of something I wanted to add. Just because the location, it don't. Like, you surrounded by houses. It's a school across the street. You know what I'm saying? It look inviting. You know? But
that's good.
Yeah. And I think always when I tell my story, I start at when I was 13, me being involved in the juvenile justice system. But I think it really even started way before that. Like, I remember 11, 12, I was doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing and stuff like that, and, you know, having involvement.
Can I interrupt and ask a question? Why were you doing that?
Why was I getting involved? I think always from a young age, like, I always had and I think it might be the nature versus nurture. Like, it may be that. I ain't really had a proper nurturing, so maybe I could say it was me not being nurtured. It would kind of make me that way. But then I go back to the values that my dad instilled in me when I was young. Like, my dad, when I was very young, I commend my father for for them like around 8 to 9 years where he was heavily, from what I remember, heavily involved with me, heavily paid attention to me, like, you know, them values that he instilled in me. He never promoted that type of lifestyle because he lived it before. But I think it go back to the nature versus nurture. Maybe just me seeing the things that he tried to hide from me. Me being nosy and young and being influenced. You know, I had a big brother that was doing what he was doing, and I always wanted to, you know. So I think more than anything, I wanted attention. I think more than anything, I wanted attention because I did things alone for a while, and then when I got a community that paid attention to me a little bit more than my father or anybody in my home paid attention to me, I held on to them real tight. I would have did anything for them, crashed out for them, stole for them, did anything for them because I wanted to feel that love in that community. Yeah, and I think the word on the tip of my tongue, I can't. I don't want to say motivated me, but for lack of better words, I'm gonna say motivated. What motivated me to keep doing what I was doing was the support I would get when I did it. You know, when I did this, when I go steal a car, you know, everybody praised me. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. But I think it all started like with my father for sure. For sure. I think it all go back to my father as I sit back now. You know, I'm in therapy now. I'm doing more stuff for myself and my consciousness and my mental health that I kind of realize and I sit back, I'm like, I think it started with my father, but then it also go back to my mother, which is a whole nother story. But yeah, I entered the juvenile justice system at first when I was 13 years old. And once I did that, it kind of turned me up.
In what way? Like
turned me up on the negative end. Like, you know, everybody in the system wanted, like, they thought I was cute. Oh, you so small, you so cute, you should be doing this. They thought I was a game. And then everybody outside was like, he's so small, he doing this. Like, you know, that's my little cousin, that's my little, you know. So it kind of turned me up to be more involved. And the more involved I got, the more I got detached from myself and my purpose and what I really truly wanted to do on this earth. Because since I was young, I always wanted to play ball. But I was always the smallest kid. Always the smallest kid. You probably can't believe it now.
That's what I'm saying. But you like 6'2", ain't you? Like, what's...
Yeah. But
I met this dude when he was like a little dude.
Yeah, I was 4'11" until 7th, 8th grade. I was 4. Imagine me at 4'11" in 8th grade.
I can't envision. I didn't know.
I was 4'11" in 8th grade. My 9th grade year, I was 5'1", 5'1.5", almost 5'2". I probably would have told you 5'2", but I was smaller than everybody, like everybody. So I always felt like I had something to prove. You know, my older brother was always taller. Ain't nobody really mess with him, you know, and the people that I hung around always hung around older people. So like I always felt like I had something to prove or something to, you know, live up to. When really, I just needed to live for myself. But I didn't understand that then. So yeah, I ended at 13. I kind of navigated. I was in and out. I seen 2 birthdays out of my teenage life. My teenage. So from 13 to like 20, I seen 2 birthdays. My 16th birthday and my 19th birthday. So I grew up in juvenile. Like I hit puberty in juvenile. Like for real. That's not even a facade. Like I went in, couldn't do certain stuff, and I came out, could do certain stuff. If that makes sense. I had hair in places I didn't have hair before. My voice dropped when I was, you know, I literally grew in there. So I think that kind of molded me too a little bit, like, cause you know, when you live behind bars for so long, you kind of take on that go with you. You know, certain stuff go with you.
What do you mean by that, brother? What do you mean by that?
Basically like PTSD. I mean, and I wouldn't call it PTSD necessarily because I lived with it for so long that I wouldn't say it traumatizes me, But at the end of the day, that's like all mental. That's trauma.
Do you think about it? Do you still think about it?
Yeah,
still think about it?
For sure.
I think about prison every day.
For sure.
Every day, man.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Something happens where I think about it. Every single day, man. And I've been out of prison since 23. I'm 36 now. You know what I mean? So what helped you? What helped you get out of that space?
Oh, the institutionalized space.
What helped you get out of not just the institution, that mindset? What helped you get out of that space? You know what I mean?
Or are you still in there?
I think for me, so I think this is kind of what a flip did, and this is this a new revelation. So this is something I'm just now finding out, and maybe I could be incorrect about this as I'm still going through my journey of healing and stuff like that. Because as I'm learning now, healing don't never stop. You're gonna keep healing forever. So don't quote me on this, but this is just something I've been thinking recently. I think that the flip for me, and I'm kind of going for tangent, but it's two questions. I think the flip for me was not only me wanting to live a better life, but me understanding that the life that I was living was not what I deserved. It was just the cards I was dealt. And I had to navigate through that. And I think now with me navigating and kind of getting out that space is that I kind of look at it like as a double-edged sword, like, yeah, it's messed up. Everybody got something going on, but that don't discount what I got going on. I need to feed my soul. You know what I'm saying? So I need to feed myself. So whatever feed me can help me get out of that space.
100%. Yeah. That's interesting. We can learn from them too.
Man. No.
You know what I mean? Can I ask how old you are, brother?
I'm 20.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah. How did the Delta Project help you?
Oh, man. I think, man, when you talk about showing up, I think when you just spoke about showing up for your son, he showed up for me like I was his son. And that was big for me, especially because my daddy wasn't showing up for me while I was incarcerated. So, like, me not getting visited. And even when I transitioned over to the, it's kind of crazy. So I first came in contact with him when I was 13 years old, when I entered the juvenile justice system. And from I was 13 all the way up until I was 17, because when I was 17, they sent me to the county. So from when I was 13 all the way till I was 17, every Friday when I was in that juvenile, he came in there on time, sometimes early. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he stayed late. He brought me books. He fed me knowledge. He brought substance and he brought abundance to me while I was in there. It was something I was looking forward to every single Friday. And shout out to all the other teachers that was doing Friday school in there. But I was definitely like,
Mr. Cole class was lit.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna shout myself out.
That's right, Cole.
That class we were not playing in that class.
Yes, everybody loved the class.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't one person who was like, nah, I don't want to be here.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
some of the other classes we was falling asleep in. But I think it was consistency for him. And he stuck by me all the way. And it's kind of like, I feel like this is where I feel like God come into play. Cause it was amazing to me how when I transitioned to the county, and he was there for years before I even entered the juvenile justice system, he been there. You know what I'm saying? His career didn't start when I got there. So maybe for 6 years, he showed up consistently in our juvenile system while I was in there. And when I transitioned to the county, I was like, dang, I ain't gonna have no gold party. That's something that they have in the juvenile where they feed you good every Friday. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, they feed you good. So I'm like, man, I ain't gonna have no gold party. I'm like, dang, we ain't finna have no Friday school. I'm in the jail just looking, like, oh man, this John dead. So then, like 2 days later, I'm in the jail for 2 days. 2 days later, I see Mr. Cole walking up through the jail. I'm like, when I tell you the hope I had, I almost had the tear came to my eye. Like the hope I had just by seeing that man's face walking there. I'm like, man, that's crazy. And then I ended up finding out he was transitioning to the county. Like, wow. So the rest of my stay for the county, he was there.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And Eric, here's the thing. That was by accident. I had a brother with lived experience that had been charged with a couple of crimes and just gotten into some trouble. And he's like, Cole, I want to give back. But nobody is letting me get into these facilities. And I was like, well, where you want to go? He was like, Cole, I want to go to the jail and work with the juvenile part at the jail. Well, let's do it. My plan was not to go to the jail. I had no plans on going to the jail. I was like, let's meet with them. Let's talk to. I didn't know anybody at the jail. Shout out to, the ladies at the jail, Lieutenant Brown, Sergeant Brown, like all of them, they met with us. And we just told them, hey, we want to come in as community members, volunteers, serve. We ain't talking about getting paid. And that's a lot of things I think people have to understand. A lot of this was not being paid. We weren't getting paid to do this. This brother wanted to give back. And I was like, well, I can go in there with you. And they were like, well, Cole, since you have the lived experience with navigating some of these systems, can you work with him? So he couldn't get into the jail because of his background, but we set it up. Hey, we're going to do virtual. He'll come into the classroom virtually. I'll go in physically. So this was not something I had planned to do. I was good. I'm like, no, I ain't going back to I don't want to do no jail.
Right.
Man.
That's God.
And that's how God works.
That's how God works.
That's how God works. But I think everything that you guys are saying that we got to wrap up too, man, because we need a part 2 to this.
Nah, for sure.
We definitely need a part 2.
Sure.
But I think everything that you're saying is so spot on to what, Eric, you're doing, man. This whole concept of him changing his mindset, changing who his peers are, reevaluating, doing the work that he needs to do for his mental health. Like he's actually doing the very same thing that you were doing that led you down the path that you're on now. So one of the things I'm so excited about in this work, man, is that our hope is that lived experience young adults can be seen not only with their lived experience, but also the professionalism that they come with too. And so the goal for us is to find 20, 22-year-olds who have this experience and help build them so that they can give back in the way that I did I'm in my early 30s when I'm doing this work. But I'm like, imagine what we can do when you're at those critical periods in your life where you're like at 20, 21, 22, you're trying to figure out, well, who am I? Who do I become? How do I fit into all of this? How do I find my passion?
Thanks.
Those are the greatest people to be around other young people who aren't even asking those questions, but through proximity, they could become, right? And so I just want to thank you, brother. I've had the pleasure of knowing you for many years, to have the pleasure of having you on as our board member, man, to support the Delta Project. So what I want the world to know that this isn't just something that you talking, brother. This is something that you have been living. And so I thank you for taking the time out of your day, as busy as you are, to come and sit with us and share your stories, share your journey. But most importantly, man, leave something behind. And so I think for us, it's like, man, you just helped us answer that question. You know, how do I become something I don't see is one, but the second one is for this podcast is you just taught us what you've learned to learn that journey, man. And so I just want to say thank you, brother, for sharing your time and journey with us.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Cole. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you too, man.
Appreciate you. It's a blessing.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Check out our programs on the Delta Project's website, thedeltaproject.co, and be sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.